let's move on to the other big, 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 tremendous upset this weekend in the Crimson Tide falling at home for the first time in 3 years. And for the second time in a row to the Oklahoma Sooners that a lot of people, us included, had largely written off. Chance, I think you alluded a little bit to it last week. You were like, did we write off Oklahoma too soon? And Bama made a lot of mistakes. And it was a really, really close game. But Oklahoma did what they needed to do, and they capitalized on the mistakes. And yes, there were some Bama mistakes, but Oklahoma also caused a lot of those problems. There were three turnovers, very close to being 5 turnovers, and almost all of them, trying to run through them in my head, but the vast majority of them were caused by Oklahoma. I mean, Alabama was playing well in that game. Oklahoma just played better, and that's usually the recipe of what it takes to beat Alabama, especially if you're going to go into Tuscaloosa and do that, is you have to just straight up win, and Oklahoma was the better team on that day. John Mateer looks to be getting better. He was poised. He and Ty Simpson really got into a duel. The defenses were both good. And yeah, Sooners came out with the win. And now that was Bama's first and only conference loss. Their other loss on the season is still one of the worst losses in college football, but is definitely not affecting the conference race, which largely is going to be what's affecting the playoff committee. They've got not much going on this weekend. But should Auburn win the Iron Bowl, we very easily could see them out of the playoff again. Chase, you had to be feeling it. You were feeling it on Saturday. Tell us how it is.
Yeah. Dude, I've watched Bama the last couple weeks, and they have just been slowly cracking in each game. Like, obviously, they almost lost to South Carolina. They really did not play well against LSU. LSU was a shell of themselves, and they still were in a position to win that game in the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa with a backup quarterback and basically and a backup running back. There's no reason that they should have competed, and they really could have won that game. Finally, I think truly what happened here is that Bama has played so many ranked teams in a row outside of South Carolina, and LSU would have been ranked if they didn't crumble. They played so many teams that the fatigue just finally caught up to them, because the game was completely out of character for both teams, really. Oklahoma is one of the worst teams at causing turnovers on the year, and they almost caused 5 turnovers in that game. Alabama doesn't turn the ball over very often, and they turned the ball over nearly 5 times that game. It was a perfect storm for the Sooners to dominate. Not dominate, but win in Tuscaloosa. They needed every single one of those turnovers. They almost got even more. Like, they had the pick 6 right at the big in the first quarter. They had another pick right at the goal line for Alabama was about to score, and it gets called back for an interference on a guy way over there that would not have affected the play whatsoever. And that was one of those ref gimme calls. And then there's one of the first fumbles that happened was the dude knocked the ball straight out of the guy's hand, out of your favorite receiver's hand. Ryan Williams fumbled the ball. And there was nothing but OU guys there. And the guy jumps on the ball, kicks it out of bounds, and it stays tied ball. And we're like, okay. So they literally could have had 5 turnovers, won the turnover margin by 5 in that game. And really, I mean, John Mateer had that one great play where he ran in and got hit by 16 different Tide players, so even though there's only 11 on the field, and scored on the running play. But outside of that was all Oklahoma's defense winning that game for them. The difference in yards was 450 yards for Alabama to 220 for Oklahoma. So the offense is still definitely, the offense is still definitely struggling for John Mateer and the Sooners, but their defense is good. if that defense is already good when they weren't causing turnovers. But since they found a way to cause turnovers in this game, that might be the best defense in the league. If they find a way to consistently do what they just did, that's the best defense in the league.
And here's the thing is Oklahoma doesn't cause turnovers, right? So,
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma had one path to winning this game in all reality. I mean, I hate to say it, as much as I'm not a fan of Alabama, they had one path to win, and was get a pick six, cause a bunch of turnovers, and limp your way to a victory, which they did, to their credit. And if I was Alabama, I'd be at your team, because there's no way you probably should have lost that game, but you did, and thank goodness you did. I'm going to say something controversial, guys. Alabama is the only team that I would consider with 3 losses in the playoff, I think. They
With a loss to Auburn.
With a loss to Auburn, I don't say they get in, but I think they would be at least on the cusp. I think.
Could you imagine if they were number 13 again? If they were first out a second year in a row.
They really shouldn't have been number 13 last year.
They shouldn't have.
Their resume last year was not nearly as good as it is this year.
I know what Chance is going to say here, but South Carolina and Ole Miss had better resumes last year than Bama.
Yeah. How do you make sense of that though? Let's assume that they do beat Auburn, or sorry, that they do lose to Auburn. You've got two of your 3 losses are to unranked teams, one of which is one of the worst teams, is at least in the Power 4, possibly one of the worst teams in all of Division I football right now. And your other is to rivalry, and then the other is to another top 10 team. But you have all of these wins against your Georgias, your Tennessees, your Vanderbilts. Where do you put them? What do you make of that resume?
I think they have the 8th hardest strength of schedule right now. But that would truly, if they got in with that, with a loss to Auburn at the end of the year, that would be a team of 2 tides, high tide and low tide.
Right now,
like, they're at 4 now strength of schedule? I swear, when I checked it earlier, I swear it said 8, but the 4, damn. Yeah, no, they got a tough schedule, but it's crazy to me that if they were to get in with that resume, they would have a loss to one of the worst teams in the ACC, Florida State, one of the worst performing teams in the SEC right now, Auburn, without a coach, and then to Oklahoma, which is a good team, but at home. I think those losses would take you out.
Let's put this scenario in there. Let's say they beat Auburn. Let's say Texas A&M loses, and then they go to the SEC Championship game and they lose to Georgia. That's where I see. What?
How do they lose to Georgia? You say the silliest thing sometimes.
This is obviously it's an insane scenario since they lose to Georgia, I guess. But that's how I see them in as a 3-loss team. I mean, if they lost to Auburn, that would be crazy, but I think that's probably far-fetched. But they have a good chance still to make the SEC Championship game and lose there. So then you get a 3-loss SEC team. I don't know. That's a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, because at that point, then you would absolutely have to shove out, a Michigan, a USC, potentially an Oregon, depending on how this weekend goes.
I think
certainly, I think that would definitely make it so that there's I would think that would eliminate a second Big 12 team, as disgusting as that would be. But
maybe. I don't know what the tiebreaker would be in that, to be honest, because you'd have a ton of teams that didn't play each other. Other than Bama and Georgia, you'd have 1 loss A&M, you'd have 1 loss Ole Miss, you'd have 1 loss Georgia, and you'd have 1 loss Alabama in conference.
I think if Texas A&M loses, I could be wrong, but according to ESPN, the most probable SEC championship matchup is Alabama-Georgia.
Yay.
Just like every year. So,
right?
And the sporting world rejoices for the same thing to happen yet again.
Woohoo. Might as well be the Big Ten.
Yeah. All right.
Oklahoma, though, they've got 2 more games, guys. Do they win?
That's what I was going to say. What do we think about Oklahoma, though? Do we think they're a playoff team now? Do we think they're going to win these next 2 games?
I still don't know, man. I wish I knew.
How is we're this far in the season and we have no idea what Oklahoma is?
I don't even know if they're a running or a passing team.
Game. It's all
Neither.
that Texas game. If you
Neither,
remove
but
that
they
Texas
still
game,
managed to beat Alabama on the road, being neither a running nor a passing team with a mediocre defense.
They only had 212 yards and they won the game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if it wasn't for the turnovers, but this isn't even a team known for turnovers. So, like, you're showing us this new element of your game in week 12? Like, you really lulled us into a false sense of security. You pulled the wool over our eyes, Oklahoma.
It's kind of crazy to me.
Texas.
It's truly crazy to me that they couldn't do the same thing to Texas, because, I mean, on paper, offensively, Alabama's offense and Texas's offense are pretty similar. They have an okay, underperforming O-line, a run game that's basically non-existent, and then a quarterback that's doing pretty well with what he has, but not doing that great. So you force Ty Simpson and all these into multiple interceptions and multiple fumbles on that team, but you couldn't do that to Arch when they were crumbling already. So it's truly amazing to me that they're just living in their head like that. But if you remove that Texas game from their schedule, we would have believed in this team from the beginning. It was that game that made us be like, whoa, did we overhype this team? Is Venables getting fired? Like, that was the game that changed the whole mindset for that team. So thanks, Texas.
Ultimately, though, it was a beautiful day in college football. Anytime the tide goes down, it's a beautiful day. A day for
America
celebration.